Reilly Erhardt tribute speech. Richard Henry Lee eulogized George Washington with this classic statement: "First in war, first in peace, and first in the hearts of his countrymen." In the history of the United States, only a handful of soldier statesmen occupy such a place of honor. Former General and Secretary of State Colin Powell is a modern George Washington and deserves such praise. General Powell commands praise as a warfighter, a political leader, and a symbol of what is right. General Powell is entitled to admiration for his heroics in the United States Army. General Powell climbed the ranks all the way from a second lieutenant into a four-star general. An ROTC graduate of the City College of New York, Powell served 2 tours in Vietnam and 1 tour in Korea. During these tours, General Powell received several awards and medals for his distinguished service. Among others, he was awarded the Legion of Merit for exceptional conduct, the Bronze Star for heroism in the combat field, and the Purple Heart given to those wounded or killed in battle. During his second tour of Vietnam, then Major Powell single-handedly rescued Major General Charles Martin Geddes and 2 other soldiers after their helicopter crashed. As a strategist, Colin Powell's main focus was the safety and security of men. Yes, he fought wars, but he hated wars. But his Powell doctrine remains instrumental as the proper and effective way to fight if you must. It has 3 parts. First, a military intervention needs a distinct and well-defined mission. Second, enough force to accomplish the goal cleanly. And third, a clear exit strategy. The Powell Doctrine defined the incredibly successful result in Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm in 1991. Operation Desert Shield was brilliantly devised and executed. Colin Powell strategically placed aircraft carriers around Kuwait and commenced around-the-clock air patrols on the Iraq-Kuwait border to discourage further Iraqi military advances. In addition, Colin Powell created a coalition of other willing countries focused on driving the Iraqis out of Kuwait. Operation Desert Storm was a success. Thanks to Colin Powell's efforts, the coalition soundly defeated the Iraqis in only 2 months. Soldiers followed General Powell's lead because he was selfless, courageous, and patriotic, with unquestioned integrity. Powell led his men by example. Soldiers, black, brown, or white, realized they were actually brothers in green. The color of their uniform, not the color of their skin. Colin Powell is just as respected as a statesman. Presidents and world leaders listened to Powell because he was honest, fair, and trustworthy. He served honorably as a soldier and then answered his country's call to serve as National Security Advisor under President Reagan and Secretary of State for President George W. Bush. Powell became a key figure in the war on terrorism, especially in Iraq and Afghanistan. However, rather than use the military, Powell forcefully advocated for reason and diplomacy. Powell's MO as National Security Advisor and Secretary of State was to give the best advice and then offer support to his superiors. Powell disagreed with President Bush on whether to invade Iraq in 2003. History shows Powell was right. He argued for more diplomatic containment, more time to line up a coalition, and more planning for post-war security and occupation. But when the President rejected his advice, Powell supported him. There's a place of honor in history for people like Powell, whose instincts are correct, even if the advice was ignored. Foreign policy at its best balances idealism and realism. This has proved true from the days of the Monroe Doctrine to the Marshall Plan to the Powell Doctrine. Lastly, Colin Powell should be praised because he was a symbol of what is right in America. Citizens look up to him because he spoke his mind and was not afraid to change his opinion if the circumstances required it. Powell, a Republican, completely changed direction after initially supporting Senator John McCain in 2008. During the crucial last months of the election, he endorsed President Barack Obama for Obama's ability to inspire. In addition, Powell voted to repeal the unpopular Don't Ask, Don't Tell, a policy that prohibited gays from the military service. In a world full of negative attack ads, Powell rose above it to discuss issues fairly and thoroughly. He was issue-driven, not politically bound. While a Republican, he took issue with the party on climate change, immigration, and health care. He said, "I'm a Republican, but of a more moderate mold." General Powell was not worried about his legacy. He would rather get the job done than be considered right. Just like George Washington. That is why Colin Powell, like the father of our country, is first in war, first in peace, and first in the hearts of his countrymen.